Okay, good morning everybody.
Good morning.
Seems like only yesterday I was standing up here. But then I got to thinking, and it's about 3 years, 11 months and 2 weeks. I checked, it was May 19th, 2013. Amazing how quickly time passes, huh? Amazing. And if I remember correctly, I had everyone counting their breath that morning. Does anyone remember that? Remember? We had to take two people. It was a really riveting content, wasn't it? I mean, everyone had just stayed with you for years. Yeah, we all counted our breath, and the point was, how much of our life passes us by unconsciously without our appreciating or valuing every moment. Because actually we don't know how many moments our life is going to entail. So make everyone really valuable. But that's not my topic today. In fact, I must confess, I worked really hard to come up with something to say today. And I really think I've written like 3 sermons or talks. No, I never give a sermon. 3 talks this week. And one of them was going to be about hypocrisy. And I found this little story to illustrate that particular point. So I'll read it to you. A minister, doesn't say what denomination, was walking down the street when he came upon a group of about a dozen boys, all of them between 10 or 12 years of age. The group had surrounded a dog. Concerned that the boys were hurting the dog, the minister went over and he asked, "What are you doing with that dog?" And one of the boys replied, "This dog is just an old neighborhood stray. We all want him, but only one of us can take him home." So they said, "What we're doing is, the one of us, the boy who can tell the biggest lie, gets to take the dog home." Well, what do you think the minister's reaction was? He was appalled. He says to the boys, "You shouldn't be making the winner, or the person who gets to take the dog home, the one who tells the biggest lie. Don't you know lying is a sin?" And so he launched into like a 10-minute mini sermon right there on the street. And it began, to sin is a lie, blah, 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 blah. And finally he said, when I was your age, I never told a lie. And there's this silence. And the minister was wondering, wow, I wonder if these children have really, they're just taking in the depth of my message to them. And then finally the silence was broken by the smallest little boy in the group. And he said, "All right, give him the dog." Okay, thanks. It was nice seeing you today. I know you're shocked to see me wearing a jacket. I wore this because Charles videos these things, and somewhere at some point in future time, my wife may actually see this. Honey, jacket and tie. Thank you very much. And that's it. It's too hot. I think some of you know I worked for Edward Jones for a number of years. And Edward Jones, a venerable financial advisory firm, right? Actually, they are a wonderful company, so I'll give them a plug. But Edward Jones was one of those really, button up, tie on, jacket, that was the uniform. There was only one exception in all of the Edward Jones universe. And at the time, they had at my time, there was 12,000 offices nationwide. So you could see how important we were, each one of us, 1 in 12,000. But of all the 12,000, there were only about 20 or 25 who had offices in Hawaii. And we were the privileged elite because we could go to work in cargo shorts and an aloha shirt. So now you know why I felt so comfortable in Hawaii. No jacket. But anyway, look, seriously, I pondered many things this week to talk about. And I think those of you who have given a talk in front of people, at least when I was younger, I remember, being given the podium to talk was an opportunity for me to talk about something that I thought was really important. It's like the bully pulpit to take advantage of my dominion over your attention for the next 25 minutes and, get across what I thought was really important that you should hear. And then over the years, and I've had a few of them in the last few decades, you evolve to the point where I think many of us know that when you prepare to speak, it's really not so important sometimes what I think is important or what I would like to talk about, but it's really like, okay, God or whoever is providing the inspiration, what do these folks want to hear? Or even better, what do you wish for them to hear today? Do you understand what I'm saying? It's like, what is it that, and I'm going to include myself in this we, what would we benefit from the most today? So, I went back to that space about the middle of the week, and I was meditating. I really was, really deeply, come on, what is it? What content? And I had what I thought was a, pretty personal experience, because sometimes when I meditate, pray, whatever you want to call it, I realize meditation or prayer many times is we're thinking, we're projecting our thoughts, we're asking something, right? We're talking to or at God, the universe, our guardian angels, whoever is out there who might be listening. But we're talking to or at them, and not often pausing and giving enough time or space to hear an answer than we've just spent on asking all the questions. Right? We're good at asking, seeking, so on, but how many times do we then pause and listen and see what comes back? Well, what I've tried, and you can try this sometime. What I do, not all the time, but sometimes I'll actually have a notepad. And after I, say a little prayer, or I want some help here, or I would like an answer to something, or I can't quite figure this out, what's going on, stop, pick up the notepad, and see what comes. Now, is it, God speaking to you? Is it Jesus communicating with you? Is it angels or, your guardian, someone, some ethereal, being communicating? Or is it just our higher selves, our deep sort of subconscious higher self? But, I'll write what seems to come. And this is what happened this week. I asked the question, because like I said, I prepared 2 or 3 different talks today. I said, where is this going? What content do you want me to share? And I started writing the answer. And the answer was, I'm not telling. Oh, thanks a lot. No, I'm not telling you what the content is. And Victor, here's why. You've spent 60 plus years of your life trying to figure out things in your head. You know, when you come to me or you come, into a meditative state, most of the time what's going on is what you're thinking. It's always what you're thinking, what you're trying to rationalize, what you're trying to understand very deeply, which of course is very profound, have deep understanding. But it's all in your head. So for the first time this week, my answer was no topic in your head. You need to learn to speak from your heart. In other words, Victor, right now, what's really important to you? What's on your heart? What's running through your soul? What's pulsing through your veins? Not through your head, through your veins. What's running when you feel... In fact, a doctor of Chinese medicine once told me, doctors of Chinese medicine, when you go in to see them, they feel your pulse, right? They can actually diagnose, oh, you have a kidney problem. Okay, it's just my pulse. But they'll feel your pulse. And I remember when I came out of hospital about 6 years ago, and I was dizzy as all get, I had that kind of episode. And I saw this doctor of Chinese medicine, and he was feeling my pulse, and he was doing one of these. Not good. And then let me try the other side. Not good. He says, very low chi, energy. And he said, when you feel your pulse, he said, if it just goes bump, 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 that's not so good. He said, when your pulse is strong, you can feel the blood pumping through it. You can feel the waves of energy. Because, of course, what projects your blood through your body? Your heart. And your heart functions how? Kaboompa, kaboompa, kaboompa. And so, of course, there's a, kaboompa, kaboompa going through your body. It's pulsing. And he said, yours is going bump, bump, no flow. So this was not so good, right? So heart and energy is that flow which, not in our heads, but going through our heart. So I said, okay, terrific. You know what happens when someone gets up to talk with no topic? You ever heard the response that Winston Churchill, that great British statesman, made? He was asked one day, someone approached him and they said, Mr. Churchill, we'd like you to give a speech. And he said, okay, no worries. He said, how long do you wish me to speak? And they said, well, up to you. He said, well, look, if you want me to speak for 5 minutes, give me a week or so to prepare. If you'd like me to talk for a couple of hours, hey, I can start right now. No end. So now I have a request. Who in the front row has a watch or some timepiece on them? Anyone? Second row? I need a volunteer. Okay, you have a watch? I've already been going for 8 minutes? So give me about 16 minutes, okay, from now. And then this is very important, you've got to say time out. Otherwise you're stuck here for the rest of the day. So all right, this is all very well and good, but what are we going to talk about? I have a question, and this is for the front row. You guys are, only people in the front row can answer this. Very simple question. What's the purpose of the chair? Pardon?
To sit down.
Did the people in the back row hear that?
No.
Louder?
Sit.
To sit. Okay, next question. What's the purpose of an airplane?
To fly.
Okay, pretty good so far. We'll open this up to the audience. What's the purpose of a home? To live in?
To shelter and nurture you.
Shelter and nurture?
Family.
Yep, raise a family. Okay, so we've got chairs to sit on, planes to fly in, homes to do lots of things. So let me ask you this question. Who or what determined the purpose of the chair you're sitting in? I should have said front row only. Who or what determined the purpose of the chair you're sitting in? This particular chair. Come on, who would have done it? Come on, what's the answer? Yeah. Well, the person who made it, really? Ha! We'll take a response from the back of the room. Yeah, the person who designed it. Okay, who or what determined the purpose of an airplane?
Natural selection.
Right. It just happened. All those millions of parts just sort of made themselves and then flew together and conformed into such a manner, such a fashion that they could fly. Okay, same question. Who determined the purpose of a home? You know where I'm going with this, right? The point that I'm getting at is that everything, in fact, let me ask you the question. Can you think of anything, find the exception to the rule, can you think of anything, person or thing, that exists, the presence of which, listen carefully, the presence of which preceded its purpose? Put it in other words. Is there anything, you or anything that's been created, whose purpose did not precede its existence? Didn't come before its existence? I'm looking for the exception. I don't think so. Right? If you look at everything around you, everything, there is a purpose prior to someone inventing, or we say discovering or inventing, and it's kind of the concept, the discovery, the purpose, which is usually to satisfy a certain goal, right? You want to accomplish something through this creation, and so then the inventor or the creator sets about drawing up plans and figuring out what it is or what to configure to fulfill the purpose. So then the question is, well, how important is it to know the purpose of something? Why is it important, do you think? Do we understand the purpose for which things exist?
To appreciate its true value.
Thank you. Meredith, I spent that $10 really well this morning. You're giving the best answers. Yeah, she's my plant, my Aussie plant.
I didn't hear what she said.
What did you say again?
To appreciate its true value.
Right. Yeah. In order, we want to understand something's purpose in order to appreciate its true value.
In order to use it for its intended purpose, not just appreciate it.
Exactly. To use it to maximize its value, we need to understand its purpose. So, for example, Charles has his laptop up here. And so I can ask you, what's the purpose of this? What's its purpose? Heaps of different things, right, that it can do. In the hands of someone like Charles, this little puppy is amazing. It can produce all kinds of amazing stuff because he not only understands its purpose, he knows how to use it and realize and bring its purpose to life. Now me, for example, I'm standing here today. Have you noticed any slides? You know, this thing might as well be a plate. Where's the knife and fork? Right? So if you're the computer and someone like me is fumbling around with you, is your purpose being fully realized? Not really. So we need to know what the purpose is, then we also need to have the skills or the understanding of how to fulfill that. So let's bring it through and come through to ourselves. Here we are, we're human beings. Some of us are older, not old, older. Some of us are younger. So my question is, what's our purpose? Or more importantly, did anybody in this room create themselves?
I'm trying to recreate myself.
Secondly, as created beings, did any of us establish the purpose for which we exist in the first place? We're created beings, we're resultant beings. Who created our purpose? Where did our purpose come from? By definition, it must have come from whomever or whatever created us in the first place. Our existence is predicated on the fact that there was a purpose in someone or something's mind that needed and wanted, sought to be satisfied through our creation, through our existence. So many people, they wonder, oh, is there a God? Does God exist? Whether we call God, God, or whatever. But just reasonably thinking, whatever it is, there needs and must be, again, now I'm going into my head, but logically, something or someone that precedes us. So therefore, from whom and where do we derive or gain the greatest and deepest understanding of our purpose? Where is that purpose to be discovered? Where is our purpose established? Where do we go to find out what it is? In your own head? In our own thinking? Where should we go? Wouldn't you want to ask the person who produced you in the first place? Why am I here? Who am I? Why am I here? Why did you create me? So we now start to go into another dimension. We're not just sitting down, as a philosopher or some deeply brilliant scientist trying to speculate upon my purpose. You can speculate for 1,000, 1,000,000 years. And the answer isn't within me, it's within the mind that created me in the first place. And we already mentioned, thanks to my Australian supporter back there, that the purpose of something it's important to know that so that we can fulfill the highest value. So when I wake up in the morning, this is quite sincere. My first question is, okay, what is it that I can do today that will fulfill my highest value? Because there are different scales, or different measurements of value. There's the optimum, all the way down to almost base, no value. So when we think about human life, isn't it true that some people have the name of being alive? They have human life, but the degree to which they're fulfilling the purpose for which they've been granted life is so base and so low that in some cases we'd feel, gosh, they're not even at the level of an animal. When you think what's happening in the world right now, and the way that certain people or even groups on a mass basis are able to rationalize behavior which no animal would engage in. Animals function according to a natural law. So there are the predators and there's the prey. There's a natural balance in the natural world. But there's no animals that strap bombs to themselves. And this would be like a rabbit strapping a bomb to itself and running down into the den of another rabbit family for the purpose of blowing them up. What rabbit would do that? But we human beings, some human life is so base that we've come to rationalize the destruction of others. Well, what does our founder say is the purpose of life, or the most important principle of life? Is it to strap a bomb to yourself and go onto a bus and blow yourself up and kill as many people as possible? It's the actual it's antithesis. It's the absolute inside-out opposite of that. What is it? What did our founder always speak about in terms of life and living well? We should live for the sake of others. Why? Why? Because by living for the sake of others, we exercise those elements of our existence which, when exercised and put into practice, realize within ourselves our highest value. That's what our Creator planted inside of us. And that's what the founder and many enlightened folks over eons of time have recognized. Our highest value as a human being is when we have the consciousness, first of all, that living for the sake of others is the most simple but highest purpose to which I could dedicate my life. Now, what does that mean as a concept? Great. Sounds nice. Read it in a book. Put it on a poster on the wall. Live for the sake of others. Great. It starts with an understanding, but what comes next? It's like the connection between mind and body. What's more important? The thoughts and impulses in your mind or your physical body? And the ability to act upon those impulses. Time? Good. 5 minutes, thanks. So I guess this is where I'm coming from today. Doesn't matter how old you are, how young you are. Doesn't matter how young you are or how old you are. Really, every day, what's important is how in my life, in my particular unique circumstance, we are all as unique as our thumbprint. That means our life is as unique as our thumbprint. So this universal principle, living for the sake of others, has an absolutely unique imprint in my heart. Because my life today, or your life today, is absolutely unique. The circumstances I will encounter, the people whose paths I will cross, the opportunities that will present themselves to me are completely, totally unique. And so therefore, in this universal truism of living for the sake of others, every single one of us has our own special and really special contribution to make to the whole. Because can you imagine a world where every single soul on this planet woke up every morning of their life in whatever circumstance, in whatever country, whatever village, town, farm, mountaintop, valley, riverside, wherever. If every single living person in this world woke up tomorrow morning and the first thing that entered their mind was God, Allah, whoever, how can I live this day for the sake of others? And that everybody you encountered throughout the course of your day crossed your path with that same mindset. Could we begin to imagine what life could be like? Well, here's who I am. I wake up and I think about that. And I believe it's possible. Now, all the realists, all the practical people in the world are going to come and say, you're crazy. Impossible. That's nuts. To which my response is, ultimately, if that doesn't happen, we're doomed. Ultimately, if that's not possible, then our presence on this planet is meaningless. Eventually, we're doomed. So it's not a matter of, perhaps. It's a matter of, in my mind, it must occur. Now, the distance between where we are today and that outcome might be a great distance. However, one thing's for sure, we will never progress from where we are today to that amazing destination unless first of all we lock the image of that destination in our minds, but more importantly, in our hearts. If you feel it, if you permit yourself, if you can permit yourself the freedom to feel what that would be like, to walk into life each day, within myself first of all, committed to doing everything I can in every moment, in every interaction, to be thinking about the welfare of each and every person whose paths I cross today. And to imagine a world where we share that kind of common commitment. So if we can first of all have that enter our minds, in other words, what we believe is very important. First of all, if you don't or cannot believe that, I can guarantee you it's not going to happen by osmosis, whatever that is. What she said before. Random, yes, not going to happen. So first of all, and this is my conclusion, what we believe and what we carry in our minds as our belief and in our hearts as our conviction is really, really important. So if we live in ignorance, I was writing a couple of years ago, and one of the points I made in this book I was trying to write was, ignorance does not inoculate you from the consequences of ignorance. You know, some people sort of say, oh, well, when I die, God won't judge me because I didn't really know any better. I'll only be judged according to, the level of my awareness. I'm sorry. Ignorance does not inoculate us from the consequences of ignorance. If you don't know about the possibility of infections and disease, and you have poor health habits, poor hygiene, sorry, your ignorance of that fact does not inoculate you or protect you from the consequences of that ignorance. You get sick. You can die. You can die a physical death. And just as we can have physical consequences as a result of physical ignorance, our spiritual ignorance also has a consequence. Or put it another way, our spiritual awareness also has a consequence. And the consequence is, to the extent that we're spiritually aware of our highest and truest purpose, and to the extent that we translate that awareness, that understanding into actual actions and deeds. You know the prayer, right? The person who falls to their knees and says, God, please grant me patience. Please grant me patience. And they get up from their prayer. What's the first thing that's likely to happen? They're going to confront a situation which drives them nuts, that challenges every ounce of their being. They're just so frustrated, and it's going to test their patience. That's what you prayed for. Here's the opportunity. So you know the expression, be careful what you pray for. Someone might be listening, but it's not a bad thing. And to live like that is a wise way of living. To seek that part of all of us, within us, that needs to grow and change, so that we can become all that we've been created to be in ourselves, in our relationships with each other, husband and wife. Boy, that's where it gets worked out. Parents and children. Children to parents, right? Not so easy sometimes. But that's your role. Mum or dad, they have their role. You guys, as children, you have your role. You have your responsibility. How do you live in your family for the sake of your brothers and sisters? What can you do for your mum or your dad? Right? What can you do for each other? Imagine if you're walking around the house and everyone's got that consciousness. My older brother, my older sister, my older brother, older sister, caring for me, whatever. And what can I do for them? We begin to build the kingdom. Yes. Inside our own hearts first, inside our families, and then by extension, into the world around us. And really, that's my dream. I truly believe that the Creator who made us, the purpose of that Creator who made us, was that we would live in and create such a world. And I'll never, ever, God help me, till my last breath, I'm not going to give up or relinquish that hope. Right?
Yes.
Because we need, even how many people here? 50, 100? There's 600 people watching this in the room. Right? Yes. Even if it's just the 60 or so of us here. That is a force. And I believe it could be contagious. But we have to feel it. We have to live it every day. So I just, when I came today, I kind of had a feeling it might go in this direction, but not really a message so much as a hope that I wish to share. And this hope, I hope it explodes in your heart. I hope it really explodes in your heart when you think about how valuable you are and what an amazing, powerful source of hope your life can be in all of your unique thumbprint circumstances. Think about it. Say to yourself, I am the only person out of 7.5 billion people who can do what God will inspire me and has the potential to do with and through me today. I am that special. And to the extent that you withhold anything, then it's to that extent that you diminish not only yourself, but the universe around you, the family in which you dwell, the home under which you have your shelter. So please live well and do really well. Thank you. That's it today.